everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of Lavender Cottage Fibre Arts podcast. My name is Pia.
And I'm Anna.
And we're sisters from Melbourne in Australia, and this is our podcast which is about all things fibre arts, mostly knitting and crochet, but also a few other fibre arts like embroidery and weaving from time to time. Sorry, that was my dog Susie. She's been lying down and she just got up and did a little shake. So if you're joining us for the first time, welcome to our channel, and if you're one of our regulars, welcome back. We'd like to start by acknowledging that we are recording this video on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and we pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and we extend that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people that might be watching this video as well.
Cool, so I think we'll jump in with our very first segment, which is where we show off any finished objects that we have. Okay, so this is hot off the hooks or hot off the needles, and this is our segment where we talk about things that we have finished up since our previous episode. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I'm kind of cheating because I already showed this in the last video, but I hadn't sewn in all of the ends of this, and this is my rainbow ripple blanket. So that's what it... Oops, sorry. Get the whole thing in. Is that more or less all of it?
Yeah, so it's what, like about a metre-ish?
Yeah.
Long, maybe even a bit more than a metre, yeah. Nice.
So this pattern was called, I think it was called the Wavy Baby Blanket from the Knittomatic website, but we'll put links, we always put links for patterns and all the different yarns, and all of that information is always in our description box, so if you ever want to see what details of what we've used, check out the description box. But so this was using the Hobbii 4-ply rainbow cotton, just from the Hobbii website. Yeah, this is a pretty easy pattern to knit up. The thing that took me the longest was sewing in all the ends, which actually kind of a blessing in disguise. We had a bit of camera issues before we started filming, and so while Anna was troubleshooting the camera issues, I was madly sewing in all the ends of this. So I finally got all of that done.
Good to have it tipped off.
So yeah, this is finally... I just have to snip off a few of the ends. You can probably see a few of them are just kind of dangling off, but they have all been sewn in. So yes, I finally got to the end of this.
The end of the rainbow.
The end of the rainbow.
The pot of gold is getting to use the blanket, I suppose.
Yeah. So that was my finished object.
That's
finally actually finished.
Pretty decent. Pretty decent finished object of blanket. So I've got a couple, but yeah, they're mainly small things. I'm also kind of cheating a little bit with one of my FOs that I kind of talked about it last time, and it's actually what I'm wearing. So this is my second version of the So Summer shirt by Jessie May Designs that I had knitted, and this time I went for the ribbed neckline, hem and sleeve option. So there's 3 different options. You can do a folded, a ribbed, or just a rolled hem. And I think with the rolled hem, just leave the neckline unfinished. Or I guess you could do one of, like, because you don't have to do the same option with all 3, but I just thought for consistency. Yeah. And so the problem that I had in our last episode was the bind off, because it's bottom up construction. So the bind off that I did on the neckline was just too tight. I actually couldn't get it over my head. But I knew that the actual neckband itself was fine, because before I bound it off, I'd actually tried it on still on the cable, and it, like, just to see the overall fit of the t-shirt there. Sorry, Susie's just making...
She just made a little yawn.
Making some funny noises. So yeah, I unpicked the bind off, and I looked at a few like different bind off methods, and I decided to try the Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off, which I did, and yeah, it's fine. Like, I've got plenty of room to get it over my head now. The yarn that I used is from a West Australian yarn dye called Rainbows and Sprinkles, and the colourway is called Seafoam. I used just under 2 skeins. Like, I think I had about 15 grams left over of the second skein. And this is just like a 4-ply, just a sock. I think it's just her standard sock. So I think it might be 85-15 superwash merino nylon blend. The only thing that I kind of wish I had done a little bit differently was I wish I'd made it a little bit longer. It sort of comes just to the waist band of like a high-waisted pair of jeans, but I think if I had just done it like a centimetre or so longer, I would have liked that just a little bit better. But I suppose with bottom up it's hard. Yeah, you don't really know once you've until you've sort of finished the garment. So I did block it a little, like kind of as aggressively as I could. To get a bit more length out of it. But obviously without compromising too much on the width, because if you stretch something lengthwise, it's going to shrink widthwise. So I knit the size large, which the pattern, so my bust is like 43 inch or 110 centimeters. And I think if I knit the size large, it was going to give me, I think, 10 inches, of positive ease. But I definitely don't have that because I did block to get a bit more length out of it. So I don't have quite as much positive ease as the pattern recommends, but I'm happy with the fit. And yeah, I would definitely, I think, make another iteration of this t-shirt again. I did do helical knitting until I split the sleeves, and then when it was knitted flat, I just used the same skein. I think, another change that maybe I would do if I had the opportunity again, but it doesn't, it's not enough of an issue to take it out and redo it. I think what I would actually do is continue like rotating the skeins and just change skeins every second row when I'm knitting flat, and then just carry the yarn up the side.
Oh, because then you don't have like a billion ends to weave in.
Well, but I do still have a little bit of like flashing here kind of thing. But I think it looks okay, and overall I really like the colours. So I'm happy with how it has worked out. So then all the rest of the FOs I have are all pretty small. That's why there's a few of them, and some of them I don't physically have here because they're baby things I've already gifted to our nephew. So the first one, I made him a little rattle. It's like a fish, and I called it Finn, like Finn, like the Irish name, because he's a fish. So that pattern was by Anne Bank Nielsen. It's just a free pattern on Ravelry, and I used some of the Scheepjes Catona, which is a fingering weight mercerized cotton in a bunch of different colours. I sort of did like a grey body of the fish, and then some like sort of bluey greeny colours for the tail. And I think the way the tail is done is really fun. You make those sort of spirals, so you crochet a chain, and then into each stitch on the chain you do like 2 stitches, so it makes like a spiral. So I just
is that the same way that you made the jellyfish tentacles?
Yeah. It's the same way I did the tentacles for those jellyfish. I think it just like is a really fun little twist, like I don't know, you can pull on the tail and it kind of springs goes out and springs back, and then I just put like a little rattle insert inside it. So I'll put a photo of that because I don't have that one anymore. The second FO I do have with me, so it is a pair of socks, and I think I did show this as a whip in our previous episode. So this is the socks. I'll just hold them up a little bit closer to the camera so you kind of see the colour and the pattern. So it is Rye Light by Tin Can Knits, which is a free pattern on Ravelry, and the yarn is called, the colourway of the main colour is called Fountain Forest, and it's from Woolen Works. She's an Australian or Melbourne based yarn dyer. And then for the contrasting heels, cuffs and toes, I used a mini from a sock set that I had from Loco, and it didn't come with colours, but just looking at their website, I'm 99% certain that this is the colour Juniper, from just their sort of standard range of semi-solids. So yeah, this was Rye Light from Tin Can Knits, and I just knit, I think, the size medium. The only change that I did was I knit the whole thing on a 2.25mm needles. I think, from memory, I think the cuff they said to use a 2.5, but I just used a 2.25 for everything. Did
you already have this mini when you bought the?
Yes, but I didn't.
So it's just like by chance that, because I feel like it basically exactly
I'll
matches.
see if I'll hold it up quite close, that and hopefully if I get rid of Pia's face, it will focus. Yeah, there we go. I think the camera just always wants to focus on faces. Yep. I feel like it is actually a really good match.
Really good match
for the colours. But yeah, that was just serendipitous. I guess like now I have like a billion minis. So
you've got pretty much every colour.
Pretty much, I'll always have something that I can match up. So yeah, that was Rye Light. And then, so what happened with that is once I finished knitting them, I had about 2 grams, I think, or 2.5 grams of the mini left, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to use all of this. So what I actually did was then I just split it in half using, like, I have a scale, I think it's like a jeweler's scale, so it's pretty accurate. I just split it in half, and then I used that as a cuff, or like a contrast, to knit some baby socks. So that pattern was just called Stretchy Baby Socks, and it's by Fabienne Schulte, I think is how you say the name, and I did the 40 stitch cast on option. Our nephew is he's just turned 3 months old, but I kind of knit the size for about a 6-month-old baby, thinking that if they're a bit big, like, he's not walking at the moment obviously, so if his socks are a bit big, it's not that big of a deal. And I think he hasn't really reached the stage where he has kind of like
reach the toes and pull them off.
Well, I think he just hasn't really discovered his feet yet. So yeah, I gave those as a baby gift, and kind of so that I can have like a matching pair of socks for him. And our brother's partner really liked them, and she has actually asked if I would make her and our nephew like a mummy and me, I guess, kind of thing, like matching set of socks, which I think will be quite cute. So I will have to find some yarn to make them a matching set of socks. So that was that. And then I did knit over the Easter weekend. Pia actually went camping, so I stayed here at her place, mainly to look after Susie. And so while I was here, I, to be honest, just did a lot of knitting and watching Netflix. Maybe I'll show. I took this really cute photo of I was doing some crochet, and I got up to, I don't know, make a cup of tea or something like that, and Susie like sat down in my spot, so it kind of looks like she's doing all the crochet. Cute. So I'll just share that photo. It's very cute.
I think maybe she likes to sit where you've been sitting, if like the where you've been sitting is a bit warm.
Probably,
so
yeah.
Like,
so I made a whole heap of yarn cozies. So I made 2 of the full-size ones. So this, hopefully you can tell, is actually this yarn. This was the 15 grams that I had left. I basically got 1 yarn cozy out of it. And this is the Fountain Forest. I've still got a bit more. So I got 1 pair of socks, this yarn cozy, the baby socks, and I think I've still got about 5 grams left. So I'll have to put that into some kind of scrappy project. Yep. So I made 2 full-size yarn cozies, and I made 4 mini yarn cozies, which I've now misplaced. Where did I put them? Oh, here they are. I actually left one of them at home, so one of them I don't have, but maybe I'll take a photo. So that was one of the mini yarn cozies I have. So these are, the patterns are from Natty, and the full size is for a 100 gram cake of fingering weight, or I think she said some people have managed to also get DK weight into them. And then the mini cozies, I think she has a pattern for a 50 gram, but these ones are for 20 gram cakes. And then the other 2, so yeah, one's at home, I've forgot to bring it, but then the other 2 is this one. So this one is actually the skip rope yarn co in Heart Eyes that I think it always wants to focus on faces, I think. Yeah, there we go. Skip rope yarn co in Heart Eyes. I had that left over from a t-shirt that I made, and this is the last one, just like a green and blue speckled one. So yeah, the skip rope one, but these 2 were just I think from a scrappy pack that I had from Little Woolly Makes. So I made those. So yeah, excuse me, 2 full-size yarn cozies, and I think 4 mini ones. And I'm finding they're quite handy, like, because especially for the minis, like having heaps of minis in a project bag, if you're doing something with a bit of colour work,
they get all jumbled and tangled.
Jumbled up, and so the yarn cozy kind of just keeps everything organised, and they're super quick. And those little ones, like I think I knit 3 of these in a day, like they barely take any time, and they only use up like 5 grams of yarn or something like that.
So you could use it for
a cup of tea.
No, I was going to say, if you put one of those like polystyrene balls in there to make like a Christmas ornament.
Yeah, I have seen people do make knitted.
Like
you can make knitted Christmas ornaments. Maybe we should. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that then.
You start now, and then they'll be ready by Christmas.
So yeah, that was my yarn cozy frenzy, and then the last FO that I have is another baby thing, so I don't have it here because I've already gifted it. But I just thought, because I don't know, in Melbourne anyway, it feels like we have kind of skipped autumn and kind of gone straight into winter.
Yeah,
like
today's a bit of the exception to the rule. Though.
Yeah, the last couple of days have
nice
been not
today,
too bad, but prior to that we've had
It's been
some
a bit cold.
really sort of chilly weather, so I thought I would knit a beanie for our nephew. So I'll put a photo up of it. So the pattern that I use is called the Baby Hat with Top Knot, and it's by Julie Taylor of Love Fibres, and I use the Abbey Road Freedom Cotton, which is just from Spotlight, in the colourway Samboy. So I knit this one for the 3 to 6 month old size. He's sort of just on the 3 month mark, but it says it's for a head circumference of 35 to 40 centimetres, which he actually is, I think, 40.3 centimetres or something like that. Like when they go for the checkups, they
measure it.
They measure the head circumference, which is handy if you want to knit a beanie. But it's actually a bit big, so when he tried it on, like, it's a bit loose. So I'm not gonna like take it out, because he'll obviously grow into it, but I might actually knit the 0 to 3 month size in a different colour, because that was a pretty quick project as well. It worked up in maybe 4 or 5 hours. So yeah, those are all the things that I've finished. So I think for Project Yarnathon, you put the blanket in our last episode, didn't you?
Yeah. So I won't count it again because that's obviously cheating.
Oh well. So for my update for Project Yarnathon, so that is where both just for a laugh, it's nothing serious, trying to knit a marathon's worth or crochet a marathon's worth of yarn. And a marathon is about 42 kilometres. I think it's like 42.3 or something like that. So since the last episode, I have knit an additional 687.6 metres, and that takes me to 9,448 metres,
so you're almost
which
a
is 22.4% of the marathon. And I'm almost at 10k, so I think by our next episode, I will have definitely hit the 10k
10 kilometres
mark for my knitting, which is good.
Wow.
Yeah. Cool. So
impressive.
yeah, I think that's all we've got for finished objects. Yep. Awesome.
Alright, so now we're on to the second segment of our podcast, which is called Whip It Good. WIP being an acronym for Work in Progress. So this is a segment where we talk about any projects that we've got on the go at the moment and any progress that we've got to update since our previous episodes, or any new projects that we've started on as well. So I just have one progress update for one of my projects that I've got on the go at the moment. I've got a few other things on the go as well, but I just don't really have any notable progress to update on.
Well, I guess like sewing in all the ends on your blanket would have taken up a fair bit of your time.
Yeah,
yep. And you've been doing a lot of gardening as well.
Mm-hmm. That's my excuse. If I have to write a note to the teacher or whatever, I haven't done my fibre arts homework. So this is my work in progress for embroidery at the moment. Hopefully that will
I think you
focus.
can see that.
There
quite
we go.
nice. Yeah,
it's focused. So this, hopefully people can recognise, is an embroidery interpretation of the painting Starry Nights by Vincent van Gogh, and I bought this pattern off the Etsy shop Blooming Day Things. She's got a few different patterns from various famous well-known paintings and artworks. So
she's the same that you had, the Japanese bridge painting.
Yes, it's from the same pattern designer. So yeah, I've kind of finished filling in the sort of sky, like all this kind of dark blue area of the sky that I don't know if you can see that well. It's I think you can hopefully see that there's like a kind of gradient that it starts as kind of dark on one side and then fades into a bit of a lighter blue, so just changing up sort of the density of the stitches to get that gradient. And then I've started doing this kind of that way. It's like when you're in the mirror that you always move your hand in the wrong direction. The white kind of glow around the stars, so I've just made a start on those, and then I'll have the bottom area where the little village or town with the little houses to fill in as well. So yeah, I think I've made some decent progress on this, but it is a fairly slow going thing obviously to do. You kind of like filling in every single.
It's nice. Do you have any more patterns from her, or?
Yes, I bought another Monet pattern of the water lilies.
You know what you should do? You should go to the loom and you should like do some embroidery at the loom.
Oh.
It's like this exhibition in Melbourne that does like, I guess like digital, like
It's kind of like that immersive kind of...
Yeah, they project the art onto the walls, and at the moment it's a Monet.
We went to the, when they had Van Gogh, and we really enjoyed it, but we haven't got around to going to the Monet one, so maybe we can do that. School holidays has just finished in Victoria, so yeah, I guess we were kind of avoiding doing that sort of thing during school holidays when it was super busy. But yeah, now that it's ended, we can maybe book in a day to go and see that. But yeah, so that's my work in progress.
You should do some embroidery while we're there of the water lilies. That would be really cool.
I don't know if the lighting would be good enough. I guess we can see.
Yeah. Cool. So I have a couple of whips, and I think they're all actually whips that I haven't shown before, or one of them I have shown, but in our dream weaving section of last week. So I'll start off, well, not last week, but last episode. So I'll start off with that one. So last time I was talking about using some of the yarn that I bought at the Yarra Valley Wool and Craft Show, I think is what it's called, from Passioned Flower, who is Roz. And I was going to make like just a standard, I guess vanilla sock, but with some stripes, but I changed my mind and I actually decided to knit. I'm still using the same yarn, but I'm knitting like a pattern sock, and the pattern is called Love Story by the Crazy Sock Lady. I've finished one sock, but I haven't actually started the second sock. So the colours that I'm using, the main colour is called You're Turning Violet Violet. The pink one, I'm pretty sure is called Dusty Rose. The sort of greeny yellow one is called Dandelion. This white one is called Azalea, but if I bring it up close, and maybe on the foot is the easiest place to see, it actually has some little flecks of like a light pink in it. And then the orange is called Nasturtium. And so the pattern, hopefully it will focus a little bit on that. You do like these slip stitches, maybe back there's a bit, I was maybe going a bit too close. You do these slip stitches, you slip 3 stitches and with the yarn in front, so the yarn travels on the front of the knitting, and then a few rows later you go down into that slip stitch and pick it up, and it sort of pinches in a little bit and makes these things that called butterfly stitches. So yeah, happy with how it's turning out. The yarn is really, really soft, like just squeeze it.
Yeah, I really like that it has this sort of like puffy, kind of almost like bobble type texture.
Yeah, I mean that does kind of flatten out a little bit when it's on your foot, but yeah, I really like the feel of the yarn, and yeah, I'm happy that I think it would have looked nice in just a plain stripy sock, but I think, you know, just something for a bit of interest, why not? So that is Love Story by the Crazy Sock Lady. Then my second whip is another sock. So I just wanted to also start on a sock that just was plain stockinette, so some vanilla knitting, just for knitting in the car because it's now getting dark when we're driving home. So if I'm on the train, I can knit on the pattern sock because it's quite well lit, but in the car it's pretty dark, so I have to have some vanilla knitting to keep me busy. So I am using a self-striping yarn. This one is from Rainbows and Sprinkles, and the colorway is called Mike Wazowski, which I think is related to that Monsters Inc. movie. But I've never seen the movie, so I don't actually know if he is like, if he's a monster or a person, I'm not sure. And it's like this sort of bright green color, and the stripes in between, I don't know if it's fully showing up on the camera, but they're a very sort of pale peachy pink with some multicolored speckles in there. And then the mini that I've chosen is from an Etsy store called Cheshire Hand Dyed Yarn, which is, I think she's based in the UK. And so it's just like this kind of peachy pink color, which I think actually goes really well with the stripes. And so I'm going to put an afterthought heel in. This is just like a plain vanilla sock. Planning to put an afterthought heel in, but I'm just leaving it live on the end because I'm not 100% sure with the afterthought heel whether I will go into a decrease round straight away or if I'll do a couple of rounds of plain knitting first. I think it just depends to get the fit that you want. So because I've never knit an afterthought heel before, I think if you do more like a few rounds of plain knitting, it will add length to the sock. So I'm just leaving the end live, I guess, so that if I then want to rip back and shorten it a little bit if I need to, it's easier than having to unpick the Kitchener. yeah, I figured that was just the best way to go. So I'll knit both tubes completely, and then do both heels, and then kitchen up both toes. That is my approach to knitting these. So my next whip is a crochet whip, and I'm basically just making, because I'm starting to get, now that I've knit quite a few socks and stuff, I'm starting to get a few like small like 5-gram kind of balls of leftovers. So I decided to knit myself like a basket or a bucket kind of thing to put them in. This pattern, although you don't really need a pattern, it's not really a pattern, it's probably more of a formula that you can use like any weight of yarn, and you can crochet any size that like she just tells you how to achieve that. Is called the Effort Bucket by Tasha Louisa MC on Ravelry. And I personally am holding 3 strands of a DK weight cotton together to achieve, I guess like the fabric that I want. And I'm using a 6.5mm, which is a size K hook. In US terms, I think I probably could have used a slightly small hook to get a slightly stiffer fabric, but it's not too bad. And I feel like once you have stuff in it, will kind of hold itself open. So this is the cotton that I'm using, and it's the same. It's the Abbey Road Freedom cotton, the same one that I did the beanie out of, but this colorway is called Push Top, and I'm just holding 3 strands of it together. And I'm not really, I guess sometimes it is working out that they're kind of all on the same color, and then other times it's working out that they're kind of all different colors, getting a bit of a mild effect. But I'm not trying to get any specific color pattern. But yeah, I think it's nice.
I like the colours.
Yeah, it's sort of like this kind of like periwinkle blue, I would describe. Is this sort of almost purple blue here. I quite like that colour, but and it's fun, and it's a yarn eating project. Like, I think, to use up leftovers. And you could put any colours together and make like a really crazy, like mild rainbow version if you wanted to. Maybe I will do something like that at some point in the future. So that is going to be a scraps basket. And then my last whip, I think you will like this one because of the colours, is a jumper, like a short sleeve jumper. So I think the sleeves will probably come down to about here because it's got sort of like a cap sleeve, like it's sort of like a drop shoulder. So the pattern is called the Highland Slipover, and it is by Ozetta Knitwear. And the yarn I'm using is from Labienne MA, and it is their Merino Aran base in the colorway Calliope. So this is all I've done so far is the short row shaping for the back. You start knitting on the back. So that's all I've done so far. So it's not much to show, but I only started a couple of days ago. And I think actually I've got my gauge swatch here as well, because I think the colorway maybe you can see the colors a little bit better in the gauge swatch. So really like it. It's sort of like a blend of like this sort of grey, lilac leaning grey, but then a few sort of like pops of quite sort of bright magenta kind of speckles, and some darker purple speckles as well. But it's really, really lovely, soft yarn. I feel like the colours is very on brand for Lavender Cottage. Yes, I think it's pronounced Calliope. I've heard other people say Calliope, but I think it's Calliope is how you say that word, which I think is the name of a star, I believe. I think. Anyway, so that is... to revise my astronomy. But so I've just started on this. I was a little bit off with my gauge. Stitch wise, I think I was only off by half a stitch, so I decided not to worry about it. But then my row gauge was off by 2 rows. So I think I can't remember how many rows, how many rows you were supposed to knit, but I think you were supposed to get 18 centimeters or something like that, and I was getting 16 centimeters. So does that mean you will just have to add more rows to the pattern, or do you have to change? No, I'm trying to think now. I think my gauge is looser than hers. My row gauge is looser. So if anything, I think it will be a bit longer, which I think is not such a bad thing, because I'm actually slightly under on the like suggested yardage. I'm short by about 200 meters, I think. So we'll see. And I mean, if it's a little bit shorter than the pattern, because this is knit top down, so if it ends up being slightly shorter, I think As long as it's, you know, you don't want to have a jumper
crop
that
top,
only
yeah.
goes up to your boobs or whatever.
But if it's
yeah,
like, I guess if it's like an outer garment, you'll be wearing like
a
a
t-shirt or
something
whatever
underneath it.
Yeah, yep. So that is my final whip. So yeah, I think that's it for all of the things that we've got on the go at the moment. So yeah, I guess we will move on to talking about any future plans. Okay, so now it's time for our final segment, which is called Dream Weaving, and this is where we talk about future plans that we have for projects that might be coming up, or just patterns that we've seen, anything like that. But we also talk about any yarn that we've recently purchased, and I think for today Dream Weaving is all about new purchases.
Yes.
So
we went to the She's Crafty.
Yes, it's
yarn
basically
market a
going to
couple
be
of
a
weeks ago.
small haul from She's Crafty.
I think we were both quite restrained though.
I think you were more restrained than I was, but I did try.
For your like standard of yarn buying, maybe.
But yes, so we understand if looking at purchasing things is not your cup of tea. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. But if you would like to see what we picked up at She's Crafty, then keep watching. So do you want to go first, or?
Yes, so I just purchased one thing, two skeins of the one thing, which is some fingering sock weight yarn from the Melbourne-based dyer Wool and Works. I think that's.
Yeah, I did focus before. Maybe if I duck behind you.
Yeah. There we go. So it's just this kind of like blend of different sort of pastels, which is
really nice,
really pretty. So the colorway is called Me as a Bird, and it's a 80-20 blend of superwash merino and nylon. So I was planning to use this to maybe do a project similar to the t-shirt that Anna's wearing, some sort of like lightweight kind of.
I think it's really
top,
like nice colours for summer.
Yeah.
But weirdly, I think it would also be nice colours for winter. Like, it seems a bit cozy in a way as well.
Yeah.
It's like fresh. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. So anyways, that's what I'm hopefully planning to do with that. So
Cool.
yeah, that was which is, I guess this is kind of a my inaugural. This is the first time I've bought like hand dyed yarn, I think, because all the
It's
other
a slippery slope.
all the other things I've been
Next
new with is
episode, you
just-
will have bought like 10,000.
No. I hope not.
Okay. So maybe I'll start with I bought one skein from Chloe from Wool and Works, and this is just, again, her sock base, and this colorway is called Neon Lights, but she kind of had this, there was a few skeins that she had kind of like, I don't know, quarantined separately from her others, so she said this particular batch of Neon Lights came out quite different to her, like what she does standardly, if that's a real word, for the colorway, but I actually liked it. So it has, I guess, almost kind of like a bit of a watercolor effect to me, rather than these really sort of sharp, crisp speckles. So I guess it's just like a matter of preference and what you happen to be going for that particular thing, but I quite like it. So I'll probably just use that for a pair of socks. All the things that I bought, apart from one thing, I just bought single skeins, so probably they'll end up as socks, or maybe in like a 2-color shawl or something like that. But I seem to be on a bit of a sock knitting kick at the moment.
Definitely.
So the second one, I did actually get 3 skeins of this, but I'll just show you the one. So this is from the Knitting Man Recommends. I don't know if you can see the label there. And it is their Tootsie base, which is just like a sock fingering weight sock yarn. Again, it's an 80-20 merino nylon blend. And this one, the colorway is called Dirty Unicorn. Yeah, it's quite cool. It's sort of like a muted, like rainbowy kind of palette. I feel like though the Knitting Man Recommends, I think she, on her website, she only sells, like I think she has a lot of like vintage buttons and stuff like that, but she does also dye yarn. So I'm not too sure if she sells her yarn at like different yarn shops, or if she only sells her yarn at markets, but I've never seen it on her website. So,
but the Knitting Man Recommends is not a man.
No, her name's Karen or Karen, I think. Yeah.
Interesting. I just would have assumed it was a man.
And then the last things I bought was a bunch of the ultra soft sock from Maximu Yarns, and this is a fingering weight and it's 80% superwash merino, 10% nylon, 10% cashmere. So it is like very, very soft.
Yeah.
So I bought 5, but all in different colours. So this first one is called Amazonia, like sort of blues and greens.
Yep.
This next one, sort of pinky purple, is called Show Off. This one is called Violent Bloom. I really like, I think that's like a very appropriate name for this colour.
Yeah, it's a bit violent.
And the next one, I think this is the one that you were telling me that you really liked, is called Crime Scene.
Oh, yeah.
And then the lucky last is
I think
called...
this was the one that I really
Oh,
liked.
okay. Pot of Gold. So it's kind of like a rainbow but with white in there as well. So I think, yeah, probably just socks for most of those. We shall see. But yeah, that is basically all of our dream weaving. I don't have any specific patterns or anything in mind for those, but I'm sure they will be put to good use at some point. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so that pretty much wraps it up for our episode number 6. So thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions or comments for us, feel free to leave a comment on our video. We always like seeing what other people have to say, or if you've got any suggestions for us of patterns to use with the yarn that we've bought or anything like that, feel free to leave us a comment. If you did enjoy our video and you aren't yet subscribed, feel free to subscribe to our channel. We are trying to do our podcast approximately once a month. So about once a month is kind of our schedule for doing episodes of our podcast. In between, if you'd like to keep up to date with some of the things that we're working on, we've also got links in the description to our Ravelry and Instagram pages, so you can feel free to go and check us out there as well to see updates in between our podcast episodes.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I don't know about you, but I try to, on my Ravelry page, put in a bit more, like the needle size that I use, the number of stitches that I cast on. Like if there's various sizes in a pattern, I'll put the size that I use. So if ever we don't mention it and you want to know, you could either ask in a comment, but often the info will be also in a Ravelry page.
But yeah, that's all we've got for today. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and until next time, we wish you happy stitching.
Bye! Happy stitching!